today we shall start on a new topic, algebras. In this we shall study about semi-groups, groups, rings, monoids, integral domains and fields. Let us see what they are. But before that, what is the need to study such algebras? In any mathematical model, we should have three things. One is a real world situation and a mathematical model, and then connecting the mathematical model with the real world situation, the connection between it. How the mathematical model which we are giving represents the real world situation. Not only that, when we try to define a mathematical model, it should have some sort of a structure and it should obey certain laws or operations on it, and that should correspond with the operations and real life situation. Okay. So, in such a thing, people have considered algebras. What are algebras? Algebraic structures or algebraic species, varieties of algebras. Some of them are like semi-groups, monoids, Boolean algebras, groups, rings, integral domains, fields and so on. Each one of them has a different structure and there are some operations on it, it has got some properties, and having some properties implies some other properties and things like that. So, let us see one by one. First of all, we will see what is an algebra in general, and then different varieties we shall see one by one. When we consider the structure of algebras, an algebra is characterized by specifying three components. One is a set called the carrier of the algebra. And the first component or the first one you have to specify is the carrier of the algebra. Something like it can be the set of integers, it can be the set of real numbers, it can be a set of complex numbers and so on. So, that is the underlying set and that is called the carrier of the algebra. Then you have some operations defined on the carrier. For example, if you take the set of integers, it could be a carrier of the algebra. Then you can define an operation addition on this. That is, if you take two integers a and b, you can perform this operation. So, this is actually an operation from I squared to I, and it is called a binary operation. This operation of addition is called a binary operation. In general, if you take the underlying set to be S, then an operation represents a mapping from Sm into S. So, if you have m arguments, you get a value from S, and this m is called the arity of the operation. An operation you can specify like this. So, multiplication is a binary operation on integers, addition is a binary operation, minus a minus b, it is a binary operation. You can also have unary operations. In binary operations the arity is 2, in unary operations the arity is 1, m is equal to 1. For example, if you take the set of integers, if you have x minus x, the negative of x is a unary operation. This minus is a unary minus, it is a unary operation. Or you can also have unary operations like if you take the set of integers, for x you define mod of x, the absolute value of x, this is a unary operation. So, if it is a positive number like 5, it will be 5, if it is a negative number like 5, it is again 5. So, this is again a unary operation, finding the absolute value u. We can think of other operations of higher arity also. So, in an algebra, first you have to specify the carrier, then the operations, then there are certain things called the constants of the algebra. For example, if you take I, a set of integers, and the binary operation plus, and take 0 as the constant, you know that any x, if you add 0, you only get x. This 0 has a particular structure or particular property. When you add it to any number, you get the same number. That is called an identity element of the algebra. Another example will be if you take the set of real numbers, then you can take binary operation plus, binary operation multiplication, unary operation minus, then 1 and 0 as the constant. So, if you take any number and any real number, add 0, you get the same number. So, 0 is the identity element for plus, whereas if you take multiplication, any number x, if you multiply by 1, you get x. X is a real number, if you multiply by 1, you get x. So, that is an identity for the operation dot. But then if you take x multiplied by 0, you get 0. That is called the 0 of the algebra. This is a 0 element for multiplication. 0 is an identity element for the plus operation or sum operation, and for multiplication 1 is the identity element and 0 is the 0 element. So, some elements like that have special properties, they are called the constants of the algebra. So, you have some distinguished elements of the carrier, they are called the constants of the algebra. So, when you want to specify an algebra, first you must specify the carrier or the underlying set, then the operations with their corresponding arity, and then the distinguished elements which are constants of the algebra. Now, to suppose you have an algebra like this, one algebra say A and one operation dot and some constant k, another algebra A dash and dot dash k dash like this. Then these two, you need not have a single operation, you may have several operations. So, in order to be very clear, let me write it like this: A, an algebra, then some operations, then some constants. Another algebra is A dash, some operations on that, some operations. This algebra I can call as A and A dash. Now, A and A dash, that is the algebras A and A dash have same signature. When do you say this same signature? When you have one underlying set, that is okay. Then if you have 7 operations here, you must also have 7 operations here. The number of operations should be the same and they should also have the corresponding arity. For example, the first operation here is say this, the first operation here is this. If this is a binary operation, this should also be a binary operation. Same number of operations you must have, same number of operations here also you must have, and the arity of the operations should also match. Then if you have some constant, the same number of constants you must have. The number of constants should be the same. For example, if you take say the integers plus dot unary minus 1 0, this is an algebra where the underlying structure is carrier is I, 2 binary operations, 1 unary operation, 2 constants. If you take R plus dot minus 1 0, this again has the same component, same 6 components it has got. This is the carrier, 2 operations, both are binary corresponding to this, 1 unary operation, 2 constants and so on. You can also consider this the power set of a set S, union operation, intersection operation, complementation operation, then S and phi, the whole set and the empty set. Take again, this has got 6 components. This is the carrier of the algebra. These two are binary operations. This is a unary operation, 2 constants are there. So, this all these have the same signature, are said to be of the same species of, they are called of, they are of same species. Now, look at this example. I minus 0 and a set of rational numbers plus 1, something like that. These are of the same signature because you have one underlying set, one binary operation, one constant, but they may not have the same property. For example, if you have here 2 rational numbers, x plus y will be equal to y plus x, the commutative law will hold for this. Whereas, if you take the set of integers and say x minus y, that will not be equal to y minus x. So, that property may not hold here when you take the operation to be minus. So, even though these two algebras are of the same species or they have the same signature, there is a difference in them. We want to consider algebras where they have some specific structure, that is, they will all follow some set of rules which are called axioms. For example, if you take semi-groups, they will follow a set of axioms. Similarly, if you take groups, they will follow a set of axioms and so on. So, we are interested in such algebraic structures, and let us see the definition. But before that, we have to see what is meant by a closure. Let us consider a binary operation and a unary operation. Let dot and this del be a binary and a unary operation on a set T. I am using the symbol small triangle to denote the unary operation and calling it as del. Usually inverted triangle is called as del, but here I am using the triangle symbol to denote the unary operation and calling it as del. You are having a set T and you are having an operation, binary operation dot and a del, which is a unary operation. Now, take a subset of T, just T dash, then T dash be a subset of T. T dash is closed with respect to dot if whenever A B belong to T dash, the operation when you perform on A and B, A dot B also belongs to T dash. Then you say that T dash is closed with respect to dot. Similarly, for the unary operation, the subset T dash is closed with respect to del if A belongs to T dash implies del A belongs to T dash. For example, let us consider the set of integers and the operation plus. Let us consider this algebra and consider a subset. For example, take a subset say S, where the integers are, it is x, x is between 1 and 20. So, set of integers from 1 to 20 is a subset. So, S is a subset of I. Is it closed with respect to plus? You take 15 and 17, that gives you 32, which does not belong to S. So, S is not closed with respect to plus, whereas the original thing, set of integers, is closed with respect to plus. Similarly, if you take the unary instead of a binary operation line, if you take unary minus, I, if you take x belongs to I, it also implies minus x also will belongs to I. This is true. Whereas, if x belongs to S, then minus x will be minus, if you take 15, it will be minus 15 and so on. So, but minus x does not belong to S. So, it is not closed under the del, this unary minus operation. So, you have to consider the case where a subset, when you consider a subset of a set, whether that with respect to that whether that subset is closed with respect to that operation. whereas if you take the set of integers and consider the operation max, max of AB is the maximum element of AB, that belongs to I, is not it? Whereas if you consider the set S and the same operation max, maximum of AB will also be one of the elements from 1 to 20. So, S will be closed with respect to max. S is closed with respect to max. Next we consider what is meant by a subalgebra. Let A is equal to S dot del k and A dash is equal to S dash dot dash delta dash k dash be algebras. See, it need not have a single binary operation or a single unary operation. You may have several operations, but we generally take like this for the convenience. But these two algebras, they are having the same signature. So, the same number of binary operations they will have, same number of unary operations they will have. A and A dash are of the same signature. Now, this is a subalgebra if the carrier of this is a subset of the carrier of this. Okay, S dash is contained in S, and when you restrict the operation dot to dot dash, that is within that element S dash, A dot dash B is the same as A dot B. Then you also have delta dash A, del dot dash A is equal to del A for all A belonging to S. That is, when you perform this operation dot dash with respect to the elements belonging to S dash, it is the same as performing the operation with respect to the same elements in S. And the set of constants should be the same, both should have the same constants. If this definition is true, then you find that A dash is a subalgebra of A. A dash is a subalgebra of A, then A dash has the same signature as A, they are of the same species and they obey the same axioms. In general, you have a set of axioms obeyed by this. For example, you take this again, the same example we will take. Take the set of integers plus and 0. This is an algebra and it will obey the commutative law, x plus y is equal to y plus x. It will obey the associative law, x plus y plus z is equal to x plus y plus z, then x plus 0 equal to x. These are some of the rules which is obeyed by this, and these are called the axioms. Now, consider the set of even integers and plus 0, both have the same signature. There is a carrier, one binary operation, one constant, the constants are the same. And when you take an even integers, this is also obey this, x plus y is equal to y plus z, that rule will be obeyed. And x plus y plus z is equal to x plus y plus z. The associative law also holds for even integers. And when you add a 0 to an even integer, you get again the same integer. So, this rule is also obeyed. So, but E is a subset of I, the set of even integers is a subset of the whole set of integers. So, this is a subalgebra, this is called a subalgebra. So, continuing with this definition, you find that the carrier of A dash is a subset of the carrier of A, which is closed under all the operations of A and contains all the constants of A. You must see that it should be closed, that is, when you add two integers, you get an even integer, right. When you add two integers also, their set belongs to this. So, the closure is an essential property. All the operations of A and contains all the constants of A. The largest possible subalgebra of A is A itself. This subalgebra always exists, okay. if the set of constants of A is closed under the operations of A, then this is the carrier of the smallest subalgebra of A. Consider this algebra R plus dot minus 0 1. R is the set of real numbers, plus is the binary operation, addition, multiplication, binary operation, unary minus, and then 0 and 1 are identity elements for plus and multiplication respectively. And this obeys the following axioms. There are 8 axioms. X plus y is equal to y plus x, commutative law holds for addition. X dot y is equal to y dot x, commutative law holds for multiplication also. Then x plus y plus z is equal to x plus y plus z, that is the associative law holds for addition. X dot y dot z is equal to x dot y dot z, that is associative law holds for multiplication also. Then multiplication is distributive with respect to addition, that is given by this distributive law, that is x dot y plus z is equal to x dot y plus x dot z. Then with respect to unary minus, you have x plus minus x is equal to 0, the 0 element, the identity element of addition and the 0 element of multiplication. X plus 0 is equal to x, that is 0 is the identity for addition, and x dot 1 is equal to x, 1 is the identity element for multiplication. We shall learn more about identity elements in a formal manner in a moment. Now, this algebra obeys these 8 axioms, and if you consider the set of integers with the same operation and the same constant, this has the same structure as this, it is the same signature, and one by one you can verify, and this will also obey all the 8 axioms. So, it is of the same variety or the same type because it obeys the same axioms. If you consider the set of rational numbers, then the same operations, addition, multiplication, unary minus, and the same 2 constant, you will realize that this also obeys all the 8 axioms. Usually the set of real numbers is denoted by R, set of integers is denoted by I, set of rational numbers is denoted by Q, the set of complex numbers is denoted by C, and the set of non-negative integers 0, 1, 2, they are denoted by N. These are the symbols which are usually used in any book, but when you refer to a particular book, you must see what notation that particular book is following. Now, look at this algebra, the power set of a set is union, intersection, complementation, the empty set and the whole set. How many elements are there? There is a carrier of an algebra, that is okay. Then there are 2 binary operations, union, intersection are binary operations. Here also you are having 2 binary operations. There is one unary operation, the complement of the set. You know what is meant by the complement of a set. Then this is the empty set, which is like a constant. The whole set S is another constant. Now, does it obey? It has got the same signature. It has got the same carrier, 2 binary operations, 1 unary operation and so on. But it does not, it is not the same as these 2 because you verify one by one the laws whether they are obeyed. You will find that one law is not obeyed by this algebra. With respect to union, commutativity, associativity you prove. With respect to intersection also, commutativity and associativity you can prove. Distributive law also you can prove. But what about this? If you put x plus minus x, that is some set say B plus the complement of B, B bar, that is here you are using union, B bar, that is equal to 0 corresponds to phi, So, you will get like this, B union B bar is equal to the empty set, which is not correct. So, the sixth law is not obeyed by this algebra. So, it is different from these two. When we want to consider algebraic structure, they have to obey the same set of axioms. So, I have been using the terms 0 element, 1 element, but let us see formally what are these 0 elements and 1 elements. Consider a binary operation on a set S. Let dot be a binary operation on a set S. An element 1 belonging to S is an identity for the operation dot if for every x belonging to x, 1 dot x is equal to x dot 1 is equal to x. In this case, you call 1 as the identity element. An element 0 belonging to S is a 0 for the operation dot if for every x belonging to S, dot 0 dot x is equal to x dot 0 is equal to 0. So, this dot sometimes you omit because there is no confusion. So, you talk about an identity element 0 or a 0 element. For example, take this multiplication, the same real numbers and so on. You see that x into 1 is equal to 1 into x is equal to x. So, 1 is an identity element with respect to multiplication, and x plus 0 is equal to 0 plus x is equal to x. So, 0 is an identity element for plus operation, whereas x into 0 is equal to 0 into x is equal to 0. So, 0 is a 0 element for the operation multiplication. So, 1 is an identity element for multiplication, 0 is a 0 element for multiplication, but 0 is an identity for plus. This is how we define 0 and identity elements. You can also talk about left identity and right identity. Let dot be a binary operation on S. An element 1L is a left identity for the operation dot if for every x belonging to S, 1L dot x is equal to x. An element 0L is a left 0 for the operation dot if for every x belonging to S, 0L dot x is equal to 0L. Similarly, you can define right identity and right 0. When do you say something is a right identity? When you have x dot 1r is equal to x. When do you say something is a right 0? When x dot 0r is equal to 0r. Okay. So, in that case you call them as right zeros and right identities. So, this is when you have a table like this. Look at this example. You have 3 elements. The set S consists of 3 elements A, B, C, and there is a binary operation dot which is given by this table. What do you understand by this table? A dot A is equal to A dot B, second we have to take from this, A dot B is B and so on. Again A dot C is B, B dot A is A. You have to read this table in this manner. Now, this algebra where the operation dot is specified in this manner, does it have an identity element? Does it have a 0 element? Look at this table. You see that A dot A is equal to A, B dot A is also A, C dot A is also A, right? What does that mean? That means A is a right 0. A is a right 0 element for this. In the same manner, you see that A dot B is B. We can write this here. A dot B is B. B dot B is also B. C dot B is also B. So, what can you say about B? B is also a right 0. A right 0. Does there exist a left 0? Here there is no left 0, because if you have a left 0, you must have one row consisting of the same element. Here this column consists of the same element, so it becomes a right 0. This column also consists of the same element, so it becomes a right 0. If one row consists of the same element, it will become a left 0, but here you do not have like that, there is no left 0 here. Now what can you say about B? B dot A is equal to A, B dot B is equal to B, B dot C is equal to C. So when you multiply something by B on the left, you get the same element A, B, C. So B is a left identity, B is a left identity in this table. Like that we can see there are some left zeros, right zeros in particular algebras. But if an algebra has a left 0 and a right 0, then they are the same, I mean they will be equal. And if you have a left identity and a right identity, it will be the two-sided identity. Let dot be a binary operation on S with left identity 1L and right identity 1R, then they are equal, 1L and 1R are equal. And this is called a two-sided entity, two-sided identity, not entity, identity. Since 1L and 1R are left and right identities, what do you have? See, 1L is the left identity. 1L is a left identity. So whenever you might multiply something by x, you must get x. Now instead of x, I am taking 1R. So it will be 1R. 1R is a right identity. So when you multiply by something by 1R, you must get x. Now suppose I take x to be 1L. So I get 1L, 1L. So from these you get left identity equal to right identity. Similarly for 0, let dot be a binary operation on S with the left 0 0L and the right 0 0R, then 0L is equal to 0R and this element is called a two-sided 0. How do you see this? Again same idea. When you have a left 0, 0L, if you take any element, that will be 0L. Then if you have a right 0, 0R, that will be 0R. Now in this put x is equal to 0R, you get 0L into 0R is equal to 0L. In this put y is equal to 0L, you get 0L into 0R is equal to 0R, and from this you get 0L is equal to 0R. So if you have both the left 0 0L and the right 0 0R, they will be the same. In this particular example, you see that A and B are left identity, A and B are right zeros, but there is no left 0 in that example. And you can very easily verify that a two-sided identity for a binary operation is unique. Again the same manner you can see it is unique, you cannot have two of them. If an identity exists in an algebra, then you may also have inverses of elements in that. Consider a binary operation on a set S and consider an identity element for the operation. So if x dot y is equal to 1, the identity element, then x is called the left inverse of y. Then x is called the left inverse of y and y is called the right inverse of x with respect to the operation. If both x and y are equal to 1 and y and dot is equal to 1, then x is an inverse of y. It is called a two-sided inverse of y with respect to the operation dot. So, once you define identity element, you can talk about the inverse elements. So, if you have a binary operation dot and you have x is equal to the identity element, then x is the left inverse of y and y is called the right inverse of x. And if you, for an element, if you have both the left inverse and the right inverse, it is a two-sided inverse. You can easily see this also. If an element has both the left and the right inverse with respect to an associative operation, then the left and the right inverse elements are equal. So, we are considering a binary operation which is associative, and it has got a left inverse. If an element has both the left inverse and the right inverse, then they are equal. How do we prove that? A similar result we have proved in the case of inverse functions. We were considering inverse functions. Something like this, if you remember, we have considered the inverse, left inverse of a function, the right inverse of a function, and showed that they are equal. This proof is also similar to that. So, let the identity element be denoted by 1 with respect to the operation dot, and let x be an element for which you have a left inverse w and a right inverse y. For x you have a left inverse w, and for x you also have a right inverse y, right. So, w dot x is equal to 1, and you also have x dot y is equal to 1. The left inverse is w and the right inverse is y, and we want to show that w is equal to y. How do you show that? And remember that this operation is associative. So, w is equal to, you can write it as w dot 1 because it is the identity element, and instead of 1 you can substitute x dot y, w dot x dot y, and regroup because of the associative property. You can regroup this and write it as w dot x into y. But what is w dot x? W dot x is 1. So, this will become equal to 1 dot y, and so equal to y. So, we have proved that w is equal to y. As mentioned earlier, we are interested not only in the signature of the algebra, but we are interested in algebras which follow a certain set of axioms, similar axioms. So, one by one we will consider such algebras. The first one we shall consider is semigroup. These are called varieties of algebras. So, first we will consider a semigroup. What is a semigroup? A semigroup is an algebra with signature S dot, where this is a binary associative operation. Dot is a binary associative operation. So, we see that the variety of semigroup consists of all algebras with a single binary operation which satisfies the axiom of associativity, that is A dot B dot C is equal to A dot B dot C. So, 2 points have to be clear for semigroup. One is closure, the second is associativity. If you take the set of integers and the addition operation, you see that if you take 2 integers and perform the operation of addition, the result also belongs to I. So, it is closed under plus, and also associative property holds for addition. If you take integers and then take the multiplication operation, again with respect to multiplication, integers are closed, and also the associative property holds. Similarly, if you take the set of real numbers and plus and so on. If you take sigma star, the set of all strings over sigma, and concatenation operation, this is a binary operation. If you take like this, you will realize that if you take 2 strings, the concatenation of those strings is given by xy, that also belongs to sigma star. So, closure property holds, and also associative property also holds for concatenation. If you take 3 strings x y z is equal to x y z, we have seen what is meant by concatenation in the earlier lecture. Anyway, if you take 2 strings x is equal to a1 a2 an and y is equal to b1 b2 bm, then the concatenation of x and y is denoted by xy, and sometimes it is also denoted by x dot y and is given by a1 a2 an followed by b1 b2 bm. Or for example, if you take the alphabet sigma to be a comma b comma c, and if you take one string x is equal to say a b b and another string y is equal to c c a, something like this, then x y concatenation is given by a b b c c a. Obviously, you can see that concatenation is associative, and also sigma star is closed with respect to concatenation, because if you concatenate 2 strings, we again get a string from sigma star. So, these are some examples of semigroups. The 2 properties are closure and associativity. Now, if S dot is a semigroup and T dash is a subalgebra of this, you have a subalgebra of this, then T dot is also a semigroup. When do you say that something is a subalgebra? The closure property should hold, isn't it? So, T dot is a subalgebra of S dot. The set T is closed under the operation dot. Since dot is an associative operation on S, it is also an associative operation when restricted to T. The associative property is not going to be altered whether you are going to consider S or a subset T. Therefore, T dash is an algebra with the binary operation dot, which is associative, and hence T dot is a semigroup. So, a subalgebra of a semigroup is also a semigroup. Next, we consider one more restriction and see what is meant by a monad. So, for semigroup, we had 2 properties, closure and then associativity. Associative property. Then third is existence of an identity element. Identity element. If you also have an identity element, then it is called a monad. So, if you take a semigroup, say S dot, it has got the closure property, it has got associative property. Apart from that, if it also has an identity element, then it is called a monad. A monad is an algebra with signature S dot 1, where dot is a binary associative operation on S and 1 is a 2-sided identity for the operation dot. That is, the following axioms hold for all elements A, B, C belonging to S. A dot B dot C is equal to A dot B dot C, this is the associative property. Then 1 is a 2-sided identity. So, A dot 1 is equal to A, and also you have 1 dot A is equal to A. In this case, the algebra is called a monad. Examples of monad are, again we have taken the set of integers plus the identity element for this is 0. So, the third property of identity also you take, this has a structure like this, a carrier, a binary operation which is associative, and then an identity element. X plus 0 is equal to x, and 0 plus x is also an x. Similarly, in this case, when you have multiplication, if you take 1, the associative property holds, closure property obviously holds. Then x dot 1 is equal to x and 1 dot x is equal to x. 1 is an identity element with respect to multiplication operation. So, this is also a monad. Similarly, r plus 0 is also a monad. If you take concatenation operation in sigma star and then take the identity element as lambda or the empty word, we have already seen that with respect to concatenation, and sigma star has the associative property. But you see that if you take the empty word lambda, x dot lambda is equal to lambda dot x is equal to x, where lambda is the empty word. Lambda is called, sometimes it is also denoted by epsilon, that is called the empty word. Here empty word serves as the identity element. So, sigma star is again a monoid with respect to concatenation operation, where the identity element is given by lambda, or sometimes it is also denoted by epsilon, which is the identity element. Sometimes you say that sigma star is a free monoid generated by sigma. That is the usual terminology used in automata or formal language theory. And again, what is a submonoid? You see, S dot 1 is a monoid and T is contained is S, 1 is also belonging to S, that is a subalgebra which is closed. Then T dot 1 is a subalgebra of S dot 1, then the subalgebra of a monoid is called a submonoid. For example, if you take say the set of integers plus 0, this is a monoid, and if you take the set of even integers plus 0, then this is a submonoid of this. Next we add one more condition, which is the existence of an inverse element, that is called a group. So, we have considered an algebra with a carrier S, a binary operation, an identity element 1, and then one unary operation also, which is existence of inverse element. So, for each x there is an inverse element x such that x dot x inverse is equal to 1 and x inverse dot x is equal to 1. If each element has an inverse element such that this holds, then the whole thing is, this algebra is called a group. So, a group has to satisfy 4 properties. A group is an algebra with the signature S0 minus 1 1. Usually we write the constant in the end. This is the identity element. This is a unary operation, that is inverse element, such that dot is an associative binary operation S. The constant 1 is a two-sided identity for the operation dot, and this is a unary operation defined over the carrier such that for all x belonging to S, for every x you have an x bar which is an inverse of element with respect to 0. So, if again this idea of a subgroup, A is equal to S dot dash 1 is a group and A dash is equal to T dot dash 1 is a subalgebra, then A dash is called a subgroup of A. The subalgebra is called a subgroup. Now, let us consider some examples of groups. So, the group has to satisfy these 4 properties. We have seen that it has to satisfy the 4 properties. Some examples of groups are, take the set of integers, then the plus operation. What is the element 0? This is the identity element with respect to addition, and the unary operation is minus x. So, usually we write the operation, you can write the operation first and then the 0 operation. So, if let us see whether it is satisfying all the 4 properties. If you take 2 elements, it will be closed. The addition of 2 integers will give you another integer, and addition is associative, that is also true. Again, existence of the identity x plus 0 is equal to 0 plus x is equal to x. Then inverse element, for every x, minus x is the inverse element. if you take minus x, the negative of that number, then x plus minus x is equal to 0 and minus x again plus x is equal to 0. So, every element x has an inverse minus x. For 0, 0 is its own inverse, anyway identity element is its own inverse. So, the set of integers with the addition operation and the negative operation, unary minus as a unary operation, that is the inverse element, then the identity element, this defines a group. Take the set of even integers plus minus 0, this is again another group and this is a subgroup of that. Now, in the case of sigma star concatenation, and lambda, which is the identity element, you cannot talk of it as a group because you cannot define the inverse element in this case. So, it is a monad, but it is not a group. Let us consider one more example of group. Consider, let S be the set of all non-singular matrices of size, some fixed size, say n by n. The elements belong to, say, elements belong to the set of real numbers. Elements of the matrices belong to the set of real numbers. You can take integers, whatever it is. Take the set of all non-singular matrices of size n by n. The elements of the matrices belong to the set of real numbers. Now, if you consider this S and the binary operation matrix multiplication, inverse of the matrix and the identity matrix of size n by n, this is identity matrix size n by n, then this forms a group. If you multiply two n by n matrices, say A and another n by n matrix B, the product of A and B will be another matrix C, which is another n by n matrix. So, A into B will be C. If A and B are n by n matrices, C also will be an n by n matrix, and if A and B are non-singular, C will also be non-singular. So, the closure property holds. We have to check one by one the closure properties. So, closure property holds, and associative property, you know that with respect to matrix multiplication, if A, B, C are n by n matrices, A, B, C is equal to A cross B. This is a known fact, and all are non-singular matrices of size n by n. So, the associative property also holds. Now, if you take the identity matrix of size n by n, which is 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, etc., 1, this is the identity matrix of size n by n, denoted by I. Then, if you take any matrix, A into I will give you A, and I into A will give you A. So, this is an identity element for this. Now, for any non-singular matrix A, inverse matrix exists, and that is denoted by A inverse. And you can, there is a procedure to find the inverse matrix and so on. We know that if A is a non-singular matrix, A inverse will also be a non-singular matrix, and A into A inverse will be equal to I, and A inverse A will be I. So, for each matrix, non-singular matrix n by n, you have an inverse matrix of size n by n, such that the product is equal to I. So, for every non-singular matrix you also have an inverse element. So, all these 4 properties are satisfied. So, this is an example of a group. So, we have seen what is meant by a semi-group, a monad, a group. We shall study some more properties of groups and some theorems about groups in the next lecture.